Hi Megan, this is Lindsay. So glad to finally have you in class and sorted out from whatever happened during the winter critique. Um, um, Thanks for your background. I'm glad to know all that stuff. It does help me in editing and critiquing your images. So awesome. Let's start with your first one. Okay, so um, I tried to have a bigger look at this on Flickr, but it told me that it was a private page, so I couldn't view it because I would have liked to see the straight out of camera image. Um, I love this. I love their sweet faces. I love how darling it is. The whole image is great as a whole, as a setup. Um, I can't, and like I said, I can't totally tell. It just looks like there's like a teeny bit of burnout right here on maybe her dress and kind of through hers. Like I said, it's really hard for me to tell. If I look back, then it doesn't look so much. So I'm not sure. But of course, that's something to look out for, as I'm sure you're aware of. Especially when you're shooting these, sort of brighter images and brighter colors. It's half the reason why I hate shooting white or anything bright like it. Um, and then just a couple of just, minute things. Like, since you're making them the center part of your image, I would have made sure that they were both really center in that. I mean, it looks like you have them set center, but because she's longer, I would have scooted them over a little bit and had her move a touch more since her legs are a bit longer. So she's more to the touch of the end where she's not, and I would have just pushed it a little bit more that way. But again, I love the setup. I love the editing. It looks really, really good. It looks nice and sharp. So fabulous job. Fabulous job. Okay, next image. Okay, I love this. And I totally got it before I even read your description that she was like, "Why are you taking this shot of me?" Which I love. And my first thing I love the black and white edit. I love how sharp she is. I love, I like when I looked at her, I thought it must have been really hot before I even read your description. So, she looks a little bit sweaty, and I like that I can see all of that in the photo before I even know what it's about. Like you said, the hand is, if you can't get back far enough, you can't get back far enough. But if as I'm critiquing it, that would be the thing that I would want to be fixed, is that her hand is cut off. And the only other thing is that, you can see her legs here, but she almost looks very separated from her body because of the lens that you've shot it with, and how you're probably angled right on top of her. You can see, because she's so sharp and the rest of her body's so soft, it almost looks separated, if that makes sense. Like she's this floating head here. So I would have dropped down, like I would, because you have the 50 millimeter and you can never move anywhere with it. I would have come down just a touch so that I could have got just a bit more of her body in, if that makes any sense. Because her head needs to be back that way a little bit, so you can get a little bit more of her body, so that we can see kind of the whole flow of her body versus just her shorts and her legs, and her arms, that are this stuff that's all really soft focus. If there could have been kind of that more gradual flow, if that makes sense, to her body, it would kind of get rid of that sort of illusion that she's this floating head here. So that's another thing to think about as well. When shooting kind of on top, especially if you're shooting with the 50 millimeter, if you're shooting kind of on top of somebody, and they're not at one height, which she's not here. You've got the whole of her body going all the way down. That you don't want to get that sort of floating feeling, if that makes any sense. But again, I still really like the image, and love the conversion that you did on it as well. Okay, and then your last shot. I really like this shot. I think it's really great, and I like the lighting in it. I like the edit that you did. It's very simple and clean. My only real thing that I, well, there's a couple things. If I if I would have shot this, I would have liked to have had a bit more foreground right here. And foreground is something that you'll probably hear me say a lot over the next 4 weeks, because I have a lot of clients that print canvases, and even prints, really. Because even if you matted this image, that's not even talking about canvases or wraparounds. Even if you matted this image, it's going to cut right into her foot. So you want to make sure that you give yourself foreground. Now I realize she's walking, and you've got the 50 millimeter, but that just means you're going to have to move, you know, with her while she's walking, because it's a sweet shot. It really is. But that right there, that is the only thing that's kind of killing it for me, is that there's just not enough foreground right here. If you wanted to make it a dynamic shot, then I would have brought this in a lot closer, and maybe I would have cropped it so that she was more to one side of the image versus dead center. You know, or you could have even gotten in really tight and shot it so that it was like this from here to here. You know, cropping really makes a difference in a dynamic image versus a snapshot. So that's something to think about, you know, as you're shooting the next time. So, but it is great, and your images are really great this week. I'm really, really excited to see what else you bring in to the critiquing this month. So excited to meet you and get to know you, and I will be looking forward to your images next week. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a good night. Bye.